Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 45 of the Overnight Feed recaps for Big Brother Season 24. And welcome to Cliff Notes as well. A good Saturday afternoon to y'all. All right, we had nominations yesterday, two different nominations taking place, a lot of conversations taking place overnight. So let's just get right into it. First of all, as a bit of a refresher, remember that we've got the insiders led by Michael, who's HOH, and we've got the outsiders led by Terrence, who is also an HOH. Two different groups, one living in the backyard, kind of rough conditions. The other one's living inside, it's more of a standard Big Brother type experience. But we did have nominations yesterday. These two groups don't know what's happening with the other side. They don't know who's being nominated. They don't know what's happening to the vetoes. No conversations whatsoever, which is going to make for an exciting week. All right. So, first of all, let's talk about the insiders. We had the nomination for them, and we have Michael putting up Jasmine and Monte. Yeah, not a huge surprise on there. Jasmine is the only non-leftover left in the insider group. So it seems like she's the obvious target, but she's being led to believe that Michael is making a big move and actually putting up Monte as well. Pretty cut and dried for the guys inside the house. I think it's going to be low key until Thursday. Now, who knows? That's a few days, but right now, Monte and Jasmine are on the block. Jasmine is a target to be sent home this week. For the outsiders, a little different situation, a little more chaotic. Now, first of all, Kyle came clean to Alyssa yesterday afternoon about the leftovers. He told her everything. I think he was really worried she was going to be upset that he held so much information from her, but she seemed okay with it. I think she just likes to know that they're now on the same page. So Kyle told Alyssa. Soon after that, Kyle also told Terrence. Yes, Kyle spilled the beans, everything to do with the leftovers, how it formed, who was in it. Now, I think there's two reasons for doing this. First of all, by telling Terrence he's trying to keep the heat off of Alyssa by creating a much bigger target in Joseph. And two, I think Kyle was afraid that if Joseph did become the target for Terrence, that Joseph would potentially give this information about the leftovers to Terrence first as a way to maybe put the blame on Kyle and put the heat on Kyle instead. So Kyle proactively is taking the first shot at the leftovers, turning on the leftovers. Let's see what happens once these two groups combine back together and see what the blame, the implications, the repercussions are. But Kyle has told Terrence everything. Terrence seems to be believing Kyle. I think all the pieces are starting to fall into place. And Kyle said everything. He said, yeah, last week you were the target. Then Taylor switched to Indy, and but you've always been the target, Terrence, since you're not part of the seven. And so Terrence is really seeming to believe that. Now, when you tell this kind of information, you can always put your own personal spin on it. And Kyle has certainly done that. He has downplayed his involvement, saying, look, I'm at the bottom of this pecking order. I'm number 7 in the group. He said Monte and Joseph are the ones that are running it. That Taylor has now, that at one point, yeah, she was the outcast in the house, but now Taylor is running this thing as well with Monte and Joseph. He's really trying to put the heat on that little group, and Joseph happens to be the one that's outside that is going to catch the brunt of it. So with all that being said, Kyle also proposed to Terrence a new alliance, a new group that we've heard talked about a little bit before, a little bit of a variation to it. But Kyle's saying, look, Terrence, you and me and Alyssa and Brittany and Michael, the 5 of us, we can do things when this house gets back together. You don't have to be by yourself and all of that. And at one point, Kyle says something like, I'm at the very bottom of the pecking order. I really hate that in that group. And Terrence says, yeah, tell me about it. Terrence has felt like that the entire time he's in the house. So I think he really hit home with Terrence explaining how this has worked out. And now Terrence feels like he's in a position of power, and now he can make potentially a big move as well. Not a good situation for Joseph, being the only one of these 3 that Kyle's throwing under the bus right now that's outside, right? So we've got that. Now, here's the thing. Kyle told all this, but as far as I can tell from the conversations I watched, I don't think that Joseph and Turner know just yet that Terrence has been told that Terrence is privy to all of this information. So as a result, he had other conversations with Turner and Joseph. They didn't spill the beans, so it's just making I think Terrence feel that much closer to Kyle and that much more suspicious of Joseph. If Joseph knew that everything had been revealed, Joseph could put his own spin on it. He could mention that, oh, Kyle was involved. Kyle's part of the pound. There were the four guys that Kyle was a leading instigator of it and everything. He could do his own thing. But because he isn't aware that Terrence knows about everything, he's not saying a word about it. So there you go. All right. Now, one thing is that because of this, Terrence now has identified Joseph as his target. But when he's been talking to Joseph, he's telling Joseph, saying, look, Kyle's it. Kyle's got to go. Showmance and all. We're going to take Kyle this week. So he's kind of telling different people different things. So with all of that as the background information, we had our nominations for the Outsiders yesterday. And Terrence has put up Joseph and Turner. Yeah, he's put the two of them up. Kyle and Alyssa are completely off the block. Now, if Joseph or if Turner wins veto, then one of them will pull themselves off. Probably Kyle, I think, would go up at that point in time. Alyssa certainly would vote for whoever is up on the block against Kyle. Right now, it seems like Terrence would vote as well to break the tie and not send Kyle out the door. So what we're looking at right now, probably on the inside, Jasmine's in trouble. Probably on the outside, Joseph's in trouble. Both of these folks absolutely need to win this veto or else they're done. Now, what if either one wins a veto? I think if Jasmine wins a veto, Monty could probably go home from the inside group. If Joseph won the veto, then Turner probably could go home from the outside group. And I know there's a lot of people out there, viewers, that are going to be disappointed about a whole lot of things that could happen this week. Remember, I told you that with this twist, with only 5 people, we could see people going home that none of us were expecting, that a whole lot of us have been cheering for inside the house and outside the house. So there you go. It's going to be an interesting rest of the week. All right, so let's talk about some of the actual conversations that took place after the nomination ceremony yesterday evening, overnight as well. We've got Terrence reassuring Turner that he isn't the target. You're just up there, but you're not the target. He is talking about the fact that it's going to be 4-1 versus Joseph. So apparently he has told Turner that the actual target is Joseph. It's all 4 of them against Joseph. I think Turner's just happy that he's not the target. At one point, Turner says, look, I saved you earlier in the season. If you'll do the same thing to me this week, debt's paid and we're all good and settled, right? And so I think he's feeling comfortable with that. But Turner also talks about how stressful it is being on the block. It's his first time to be on the block. This is welcome to the block, Turner. It took you, how many weeks have been? 5 weeks, 6 weeks? So he finally made it to the block, as did Jasmine. Those were the last 2 in the house that had not been on the block. All right, we've got Terrence and Joseph talking. Terrence, again, is not letting on to Joseph that he's aware of everything that Kyle told him. And he's basically acting as though Kyle is a target when he talks to Joseph. Joseph is denying that he and Monty are working together. Terrence asked about that, and he said, nah, Monty's only playing for Monty. I don't have anything to do with them. We're not working together. He's only digging his hole deeper because of what Terrence knows. He also is telling Terrence, saying, look, the only people I have in this game right now, I'm probably less connected than just about anyone. The only people I have in this game is Jasmine and Alyssa and maybe kind of sort of Kyle, but even that I'm not so sure about. We know, and now Terrence knows, that there's a lot more connections that Joseph has than that. Joseph has been playing such an incredible game. It may all come crashing down this week. Terrence is talking to Joseph and saying, look, Monty and Taylor, something's just not adding up. Why would they have not gone for each other as much as they supposedly were against each other? I think Monty and Taylor are working together at this point in time. Joseph doesn't say a hell of a lot about it. He just stays silent. He knows that's the case. We all know it's the case. All right. Lots of Chinese checkers being played in the backyard. I think it's Terrence who took the Chinese checkers board as they were walking out from indoors. Everyone ought to be incredibly grateful for that, because it's there is a lot of downtime, a lot of boredom going on in the backyard. Chinese checkers is helping them out quite a bit. They played some other games we'll talk about as well. All right, and with that being said, we lost feeds for about 3 hours or so. It's a long downtime. Not really sure what was going on. I heard rumors that maybe there was a wall yeller or a drone or something over here. I don't know how they're going to stop that. They can't send them indoors. Maybe they could. Maybe they could lock down, send the insiders up to the HOH room, or send everyone else inside. I'm not sure, but there was talk about that. Don't think that was the case. As it turns out, we actually learned that they had the inside veto or the competition for the insiders last night instead of Saturday. And there's a lot of talk inside about maybe the show isn't going to be on Thursday. It's going to be earlier. There's something weird going on, extra competitions, everything else. I don't think that's the case. I think it's just with twice as many veto competitions, twice as many HOH competitions. There's just a lot more editing that probably needs to take place. So they're just production starting a little bit early, but they did have the veto competition. And when they returned, we learned that the new veto winner for the insiders is Brittany. Yeah, Brittany won her veto. She's very excited. She realizes that she's now won more vetoes than any other woman that's currently inside the house. She's got this one, and she's got kind of that half veto that she won with going up and down the trees and all of that. It's part of the besties festies. Jasmine didn't compete, and the others threw it, but it doesn't matter. She still has more veto wins than anyone else, so she's excited about that. More excited is the fact that with Brittany owning the veto, Michael owning the HOH, they're in control this week. They can do whatever they want going forward, which for right now is Jasmine. All right, the veto competition itself, it sounds like it was the country fair competition that we've seen in years past. Basically, you see a large bucket of items. I think they mentioned guitar picks, sushi rolls, different buckets filled with things. So you look at those, each of the house guests has to guess how many guitar picks are in the big old bucket of guitar picks, for example. Guess how many they are. Everyone puts their guess up, and whoever is the farthest away from the correct answer is eliminated from the game at that point in time. But you have the option to play or not to play. If you don't play, then you can't be eliminated. But if you do play and you aren't the farthest away from the vote, from the actual number, you get a point. And at the end of all the rounds, whoever hasn't been eliminated, of those who are left, whoever has the most points wins the competition. So it's truly a strategic game. I love it. I wish they'd had it during my season. I would have done pretty well with this one. I practiced. But it's pretty strategic because you got to figure out when do you want to fold and not take a chance, let other people get booted out and all of that. It's a great competition. I love why. I'm looking forward to watching it when they show it. Now, one big question is it going to be the same veto competition for the outsiders as well? I kind of think so. I hope so. I think that's the way they're going to do it. We will find out. But at the end, Brittany has won this veto. Jasmine's done. I just think Jasmine is done at this point, unless between now and Thursday, Michael and Brittany decide to just make a huge, bold move and take out Monte instead. I don't think it's going to happen unless, I don't know, maybe Jasmine has a second birthday celebration. So I don't know. It's not going to happen. I shouldn't say never. I expect the unexpected. I don't think it'll happen. All right. So we do have Michael and Brittany soon after, very excited up in the HOH room, talking about different scenarios for what they think is going to happen. Not inside, because that seems pretty settled right now, but what they think could be happening outside. They're really thinking that probably the eviction from the outsiders is going to be either Kyle or Joseph this week. They're saying that while they're inside, they really want to be building their relationship with Monte and Taylor. They see that as their path going forward, is making sure they stay tight. Now, we know the leftovers are going to have to turn on each other very quickly, but they're really hoping if the two of them can get in tight with Monte and Taylor, it's going to help them survive just a little bit longer. People are starting to identify targets. They're thinking that really Kyle needs to go. Certainly first of the leftovers next week, as opposed to Terrence. Well, we'll see about that, but they're identifying Kyle as the first of the leftovers who needs to go. So they want to make sure that they're tight with Monte and Taylor, so there's no thought about going after them instead. Michael has a huge concern because he's HOH this week, which means he cannot compete next week. So they're worried about that. And we're still in a phase. How many are we going to have next week? 8. We're still in a phase where not everyone can compete in the veto competition. So Michael's worried that, being the veto beast that he is, that someone could get the bright idea to backdoor him so he can't even compete in veto. So he's saying, look, if we can just survive for the next couple of weeks, so that at least you and I can compete in every veto and have a chance to stay alive, then I'm going to feel a lot better. And they're thinking the vehicle to do this is just make sure they stay as tight as possible with Monte and Taylor. Michael is saying that at one point Taylor had said that she wanted a final four with herself and Joseph and Brittany and Michael. And they're thinking, well, this could buy us a couple of weeks. These are the couple of weeks we need. So maybe we need to promote that as well. They are thinking, though, when they're talking about Joseph versus Kyle potentially going home outside, they're thinking that Joseph going home first could actually work to their benefit, because then that leaves Kyle in place to be the big attractive target for the next week going forward. That if Kyle's gone, it could be very easy for Joseph and Monte and Taylor to maybe go after Michael instead. So that is their concern as far as what's going on outside. They are worried that they could make a big move this week against Monte, but if they did that, Monte goes home fine and good inside, but then all the leftovers from outside come back into the house, find out that Monte and Brittany turned on the leftovers first. If only you knew. And as a result, the leftovers from the outside could then target Brittany and Michael as the keys to go out first. For that reason alone is why I think they're not going to get too aggressive this week and go after Monte. They're just going to play it easy, send Jasmine out the door, just to make sure they don't alienate any of the leftovers outside, because they don't know what those guys have got going on. Little do they realize there's going to be a huge target within the leftovers based on what looks like it's happening this week. All right. We've got Brittany and Jasmine talking. Jasmine's making her pitch. She is on the block now, which she does not like. Don't blame her. Jasmine is not happy being on the block. She accepts it. She's not upset. I don't think she's surprised. But now that she knows Brittany's won the veto, she wants Brittany to use the veto, pull her off the block. Brittany's talking about, or Jasmine's talking about the fact that she's playing for her dad, who has passed, is watching her from up in heaven. She's playing to honor him, and it really would mean a lot for her to make it as far as possible, and how important for that reason alone it is that she stays in the house. I did not hear her talk about her birthday celebration, so I don't have we finally called it good for birthdays? I doubt it. I bet we hear it again. But she's saying, please, and honor my dad and all that, keep me in the house a little bit longer. She is saying that she trusts Michael and Brittany more than anyone else in the house, that she has their backs. They've always known that she's got their backs, right? Yeah. Brittany's saying that, telling Jasmine, saying, look, I think you know who I want to send home is already on the block, right? Well, she's implying that it's Monte without throwing out an actual name, but it's actually Jasmine, and Jasmine's not aware of that. Brittany is also talking a little bit about learning about this Five Swatters alliance that she wasn't part of, that Jasmine was a part of, and Jasmine's downplaying it, saying, oh, it was Five Swatters, Fly Swatters. I don't even know. It's just something that came up. Whatever. But Brittany's kind of hinting around that this idea that she can just trust Jasmine completely, maybe not so much. But again, they're going to stick to the story that Monte's a target until the very end, until the eviction. The nominees won't change at veto. At the very end, come Thursday night, then they'll send Jasmine out the door. It's going to be a lot less stress and arguing and everything else as a result of it, because both of them think the other one's safe. All right. We've got insiders talking, Taylor and Monte, just a little bit. Taylor's saying that she's ready to target Terrence next week. They know Terrence is safe because he's HOH. She's ready to send Terrence out the door, take this thing just truly to the leftovers only. You still have one outsider left, probably. They're thinking Alyssa. Get Terrence out and then go after Alyssa next. All right, we've got Brittany and Michael talking a little bit more. They're talking about the idea of, hey, what if we did go after Monte? Again, not seriously, just throwing out scenarios the way these two often do. But they are worried that if they kept Jasmine in the house, that she would probably go after the two of them as soon as Jasmine got some power. So they're worried about that. Switching to talk about the outsiders, they're now considering throwing Kyle under the bus to make sure that he is the next target as opposed to either one of them. So they're thinking about this idea of telling Monte that Kyle was pushing to take a shot at Monte. He couldn't get people on board within the leftovers, but Kyle was really pushing it. They're saying maybe we should even tell him about this alliance that Kyle was proposing. of himself and Alyssa and Turner and Brittany and Michael. You know, that Kyle really wanted us five to go against Monte and Joseph and Taylor, and maybe even mentioned that Kyle was wondering about the possibility of a Cookout 2.0 and going against them. Now they don't mention Cookout 2.0. They just kind of dance around the topic, but saying, you know, we could mention some of the stuff Kyle speculated on, and I think it's Michael who says, but if we say that, there's no going back from that. There's no stepping back. Once that is thrown out there, you know, the gauntlets are down, so to speak. So there's talk about really making sure that Kyle becomes a target in Monte's eyes while they're inside the house, and get kind of the animosity built up as much as they can. Michael is a little bit worried that if they do all that, though, it could get back to Kyle. Kyle could then turn on them, win an HOH, or start spilling some other secrets. And so there's some concern about that. All right, outsiders. We've got Kyle and Alyssa on the hammock talking. They're worried that if they can't get Brittany and Kyle on board with them next week, then suddenly they just have Terrance. It's just the three of them left because the rest of the leftovers will have turned against them based on what Kyle has done, what they're going to do. So they're really thinking they've got to get Brittany and Michael on board. Little do they realize that their names, Kyle specifically, their names are being thrown out as primary targets by Brittany and Michael at the very same time indoors. Kyle is saying that he had to tell Terrance about the leftovers. If he hadn't, once Joseph was on the block, he feels like Joseph would have told Terrance to help protect his position, and so he wanted to do it first. I kind of get that. All right, we've got Brittany and Michael and Monte in the HOH room. Don't remember if Taylor was up there or not. We had a meeting the leftovers at one point. But Brittany is saying that Jasmine had told her that Turner wanted to nominate Monte and Brittany. Now, I'm not sure Monte's really buying that. I think Monte's just thinking this is Jasmine just spinning some tales and things like that. Monte ends up saying, look, don't use the veto, Brittany, but keep me on the block. I'm fine with it. I'm fine going up against Brittany. I'm tired of Brittany's lies. We just need to get Brittany. I'm tired of Jasmine's lies. We just need to get Jasmine out of here. So he's saying, leave the noms alone. And I think that's what'll happen. All right, we got some outside talk going on. Alyssa has never seen Seinfeld. Didn't even know what kind of TV show Seinfeld did. Apparently, he rented out a bunch of theaters where she worked and had a big viewing. I say that, it just sounds like he and a date, and they rented out the whole complex just so he and his date can watch a movie. Wow, that must be nice to have the ability to do something like that. But she's never seen Seinfeld. I keep forgetting how much older I am than a lot of the people in this house. It's incredible. I'm not the other one. I think it's Turner that says that, you know, Seinfeld's one of his favorites. A lot of people are surprised that she hadn't seen Seinfeld, but it is what it is. I'm sure she'll see some episodes when she gets out. But talking a little bit more game after that, Alyssa's saying that all she really has right now in this game is Kyle and Turner and Terrance. And Turner at that point says, that'd be a dope Final Four. I'm not sure how serious Turner is. I don't think he's completely serious, but Turner's always receptive to whatever. So yeah, he's thinking Turner and Alyssa and Kyle and Terrance would be pretty interesting Final Four. Interesting indeed. All right, we've got inside Brittany and Taylor talking a little bit. They're thinking that Turner probably will win the veto competition if it's the same competition that they just got through competing in. They should do their veto comp this today at some point. So I'll be real curious to see who does win. It's going to be important, very important. But they're thinking Turner maybe has the best chance to win based on everyone in the house or everyone outdoors at this point. Taylor is mentioning again a little conversation we heard earlier between Michael and Brittany. Taylor's mentioning a Final Four of her, Joseph, Brittany, and Michael, which they're all for at this point in time. Brittany is wanting to go, at least talking to Taylor, saying, look, I want us to get the leftovers to the final seven. At that point, then let's send out Kyle. Let's send out Turner. Now we've got the final five. Everything gets a little nicer at final five and all of that. Brittany is saying that, or is denying. I think Taylor says, do you and Michael have a final two? And Brittany says, no. She said, no, we don't, nothing like that's ever been spoken about or anything. Well, they're final two. Whether it was actually a handshake deal or not, they're final two. But Brittany's implying that how hard it would be to beat Michael in a final two. So without actually saying it, when it was final three, I'd do what I had to do. Wink, wink, Taylor, I'd take you before Michael. And so she's trying not to make it seem like there's too much final two between the two of them. And she said, I just want to make final three with people I like, a la you, Taylor, and you, Michael. So they're mentioning that. Brittany's also telling Taylor, we need to really build trust with Monte this week, continue to do that, make sure we're tight as opposed to the people who are outside. All right, finally, we've got inside. There's, as I mentioned, there is a late night leftover meeting. Monte and Michael are saying, which basically means everyone in house except for Jasmine. Monte and Michael are saying, look, let's put up Alyssa and Kyle next week if Alyssa is still here. They're saying Turner can be a backdoor. If we find out that Alyssa is still here, that means that Joseph's probably gone. So if let's put Alyssa and Kyle up, if we find out Turner was somehow involved in getting Joseph booted out the door, we can always use him as a backup or backdoor if necessary. But that's who we need to target. And Brittany is saying, look, in the next weeks, we need to get out Terrence and then Alyssa and then Kyle and then Turner. I'm not sure if she means that particular order because it seems like Kyle's a little bit closer in their boot order than she's mentioning at this point in time. But they certainly are ready to go after Kyle and Alyssa, which, knowing what's happening indoors, it may not be as bad a strategy outdoors that Kyle has turned on the leftovers because they've already turned on him, even if the actions haven't actually occurred yet. So again, this is it. This is the week where the leftovers split. They're going to come back together. There's going to be so little trust between these different groups. It's going to be a whole new game of Big Brother once this week is over. And I'm ready for it. And then finally, both the insiders and the outsiders are asleep by, I don't know, 4:30 or so Big Brother time. The outsiders have got blankets pulled over them, pillows pulled over them, Turner's sleeping underneath a table. Even if Big Brother doesn't wake you up, the sun wakes you up on the outside. So they're trying to do what they can to avoid the sunshine as much as possible and get as much sleep as they can. I think Alyssa mentioned that they were supposed to get up at 7 o'clock or so in the morning. I suppose that's for veto competition. I'm not sure. It's very early in the morning for Big Brother, but we'll see what happens. And then finally, I mentioned a lot of boredom going on. The outsiders have figured out a fun little game. They got their pool floaties using a glow stick that Big Brother gave them, playing their own homemade version of cornhole, having fun with that. Going to be a long week sitting outside without any indoors AC or anything else, and it's just going to exhaust them. But there you have it, guys. Everyone's in bed. As I mentioned before, the threats really right now: Jasmine on the inside, Joseph on the outside. Jasmine's veto competition's already over. She didn't win, so I think she's in trouble. Joseph, we'll find out what happens today, and I'll be back tomorrow morning to give you all the update, let you know how that veto comp turned out. Once we know that, everything's going to get just a little bit clearer, and we'll talk about the rest of the week going forward. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Saturday. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow morning. Until then, SKD143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.